That's where I'll start the actual replay.
All right. Are we excited?
I'm excited. I hope you're excited.
I'm
I'm ready.
excited. I
I'm
am.
ready to rock.
Another episode of What in the World? And let's find out more about BeeKonnected and how we can use that with bringing in influencers. A lot of us are excited at that idea, right? Working with an influencer, getting attached to them and bringing that whole audience into BeeKonnected. I mean, this is a fun thing that we can do. So I'm really looking forward to this, David. And I love working with you specifically because you are an awesome mentor. I just got to say, you come with that background with a corporate understanding and you see the big picture. You're a big picture guy. And love all the work you do with the Vision Warriors. So I'm just excited to be on this venture with you.
All right. Well, I'm excited to be on it with you, Christine. Thanks for showing up here. This will be a 30-minute show. And I know you've got a hard stop at noon. So at the top of or at 2, the top of the hour. And so that's totally fine. We're going to go through this. I'm going to drive a lot today because I want to get into sharing a little bit of today the approach, really the approach to attracting influencers. But let's do a quick recap of where we've come from so that and by the way, these shows are up on our channel. So if you want to go back and see what we discussed in each of these categories, we're down to the fourth or the third step. So let's go in here and let's repeat it. Let's go over it real quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here and we're not going to discuss a lot, but we want to get into the approach. So first of all, we said we're going to carry this series through these 4 phases of what is an influencer, what is the attraction mindset, which we talked about last time, and today we're going to be talking about approach. Now, I will warn you, because we're only doing 30 minutes, there's more to the approach than we'll cover here. So we'll probably pick up on Wednesday at 7:30 with the approach and cover off some of the others. And there's a lot here. And then the process comes after that. So we'll talk more about that. So we talked about what was an influencer. Christine was on that. I think we had Nathan. We had a number of people on that one where we talked about what is an influencer. So I encourage you to go back and look at that show and see what we've got there. Again, we're just scratching the surface of that. And then we talked about the attraction mindset. How are you going after, or how could you go after these influencers? And we talked about really there are different approaches, different mindsets when you're going into talking to an influencer. And today we're going to get into the approach. So the approach is going to start out first with researching and identifying what the business and what the things that the influencers should care about. So let me, Christine, I'm gonna bounce some things off of you because again, this is not the full course. We're going to go through everything that should be considered in going after these influencers. And by the way, we're just getting started with BeeKonnected. We're just getting started here. And one of the things that one of my mentors said to me recently was, I was leaving a lot of money or a lot of value on the table for people that I'm mentoring in the BeeKonnected environment by not teaching you or sharing with you the things that I learned that frankly, a company like Accenture paid me $1 million a year to do. So I'm going to begin the process, or I've already begun it, but I'm really going to get into some of the nuts and bolts about the approach to attracting these and getting to the point where you can close a deal or do a deal with an influencer. So hopefully that's of value to you. Again, you can go back and look at the other shows. But when you think of researching and identifying an influencer or somebody who is a leader of a large, or somebody who you'd like to connect with. I know, Christine, you've targeted some people yourself that we could talk to, or that might be a collaboration partner or somebody that we want to do. What are your thoughts on how to go about targeting those, or what do you do?
Oh, goodness. How many hours do we have? Like you said, it's a big topic, right?
Sure.
My business is DFW Networking Diva. So it's all about networking and collaboration. That's a big part of what I do. And so it's the ability and the opportunity, seeing what's available, what the options are. It's having an open mind, because a lot of times the mindset's the first step, right?
Hmm.
And you got to go in thinking, it's not that I have all the answers or that you have all the answers, but the idea of walking in with a spirit of inquiry, right? What can we make happen here? And it might come up with something that's totally untraditional, something you hadn't even thought of, right? But if you're open to those possibilities and having those creative conversations, you come up with all sorts of interesting possibilities. So when you're thinking, okay, who do I want to talk with? Who's going to be interested in what I'm doing, right? And how do I get in front of them, right? So open-mindedness is step one.
Okay, so I agree with you 100%. I think that it really is a key thing to really identify who do you see out there that is influencing you. And also, I think the other part that I heard you say, and maybe you didn't intend to say it, but one is that you'd like to go on a journey with this person. In other words, this is somebody that you admire. Either you're consuming their content, maybe they're an expert. I just came from the Bourbon Trail this last weekend, and I ran into a guy who has a huge podcast, and he attracted a whole bunch of people to Bardstown, Kentucky, where I was staying, that just because of his influence were there, and they were focused on bourbon. Now I happen to, my son and I were there for that. So the point is, what you said was pretty key, and that is that, do you enjoy it? What kind of journey do you want to go on? What's important to them? And hopefully that begins to inform your search. And if you're really wanting to be massively successful on this platform, or any platform for that matter, building your audience, partnering with the right people, aligning with the right people is a really, really, really important thing to do if you want to have the maximum impact on your goals or your objectives for being on the platform. So first thing is, I would say that you can utilize this platform to find those. I submit, and Christine, you can disagree with me. Out of the 25,000 people here, I think we've got a lot of influencers already. So it's not like going, I mean, I'm not saying don't go outside the platform, because obviously those are people that don't even know what they're missing yet. But do you think there are influencers on the platform?
I would assume there's influencers because we've been kind of building this up for years. So there probably are people on here that had signed up, but haven't gotten as active as they could be, right? Maybe they're waiting for the right moment, or, sometimes we sign up for something, we forget we signed up for it, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't hurt to take a look and see. Peek around, see who's already here. Because I know I talked to somebody, I said, hey, do you have, they're like, oh, yeah, I signed up for that years ago. I said, come on back. We're doing some great things. We've got some big changes in the works. I think you're going to like them. And they're like, oh, really? And so
Yeah.
I've coaxed them back into the family, right? So look for those opportunities, because you'd be surprised who might already be on the platform that you have spoken to in other avenues, right? So whether you found them on another platform, you can rekindle that conversation and bring them back.
Well, and the beauty of it is, and again, we aren't going to get into too much of where we're going with the platform, but if you really understand this journey, you'll find that, yes, number one, I've been here for 4 years. I've been here since the beginning. So I've been here since it was just a concept. We didn't even have a website. So I can tell you that there are influencers, whether they're active on the platform right now or not. There are people here who have large audiences who could take advantage of this platform now, even more so than anything that they've done. And Rickey, I'm going to mute. Yeah, go. Christine, can you mute? Okay. But Rickey Gene Wright has just joined us here, and that's awesome. But the question is, are there influencers already on the platform that you might want to align with? And the answer to that question, really, as Christine said, is it just makes sense. Christine is relatively new on the platform, not in terms of talking with influencers or being the DFW networking diva, but she is somebody who has a lot of experience. And one of the reasons why I am very interested in hearing, her point of view on that. Rickey, do you think there are influencers given the conversation we had few episodes ago, do you think there are influencers already on the BeeKonnected platform?
Sure. I think there are, but there are probably some that are waiting in the wings.
Yeah. And I think the one thing, both of you said that, and I think they're number one, they're waiting. It's kind of like you can make things happen, you can watch things happen, or you can wonder what happened. And Christine already mentioned that she's had some conversations with people that were already on the platform when she said, hey, this person's an influencer, this is somebody I want to connect with, and found that they were on the platform, but they really weren't that engaged. So yes, there are, number one, the first step in terms of the process of researching and identifying affiliates that you might want to target. To recap just kind of what Christine said before, and that is that figure out people that you want to be aligned with, you relate to. In your case, as a singer songwriter and music guy, and also you're a business guy too, I know there are people that you've run into over all your years to do that. The other thing is, once you've kind of identified those, is look at and identify those kind of affiliates that Christine's talking about, ones that you have learned from, ones that have influenced you. Start with who you're influencing and the people you would love to be on a journey with on this platform or any place else that you can relate to. That can give you a jump start into really going through some of the next steps in the approach. So when you're looking at that research and kind of getting to know somebody, a big name, again, from our first session where we talked about what is an influencer, right? We identified the fact, and I believe this is a fact, literally everyone is an influencer. It's just how many people you influence and how much energy you're putting into that. But we're all influencers. We talked about that in the first episode in this series of being an influencer, how to attract influencers.
Yeah,
Right?
use this as a great opportunity to reach out to people that you would love to hang out with. Somebody who's already in the industry space that you enjoy playing in, right? Or to meet a new friend in that industry. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here. I know for me, I love the speaking domain and the coaching and all that kind of stuff. So an excuse to reach out to other coaches, to other speakers, right? To authors, anybody in that space is my happy place. So this gives me an excuse to reach out to them like, hey, let's catch up. Or, hey, I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Yes. And that's totally brilliant. And that is actually the best starting point, because life's too short to hang out with people that you really don't appreciate, right? You don't really want to hang out. So these are people, I mean, the starting point is look who you'd love to have go on a journey of trust with, go on a journey of getting to know them better. Some of them you already know, you maybe just you've taken them for granted. You've just said, oh yeah, they probably already understand. They probably know this is an option, but they're too smart for this. No, that's not the case at all. They just don't know about it. So one of the things is they should know about it, right?
And you just never know where they are in their journey. A lot of times we'll see an influencer and we're like, oh, they have a lot of followers. And we're thinking that, oh, they've got it all together. They don't need anything. They don't need me. But you'd be surprised how many of them ended up being accidental influencers, or they became influencers and now they don't really know what to do or how to monetize it. So if you've got some services that benefit them, it could be a twofer, right? You could bring them in to be connected, and you never know, they might need to hire you for your services also.
Right. Really, as your and I'm gonna the other point here is you need to, once you identify those that we talked about that you're going to target, then the other thing is really get down to knowing them and researching them, their company, their business. You may already know them, but really focus in on where are their pain points. in their business, not necessarily what kind of function or feature you're going to sell them and BeeKonnected. That's down the road. Okay. The first step is what, from their business standpoint, not what you want to do for them, but from their business standpoint, what are their pain points? What are the challenges that they have? What are their objectives? Or what objectives might be served in marketing, or things that you could do for them that would be a win-win. It would be maybe even a win-win-win. It could be a lot of different things. So exactly right. Now I want to go back to the slide, because we're down to 10 minutes. So I just want to make sure we make it worth your 30 minutes. So the next step is really establishing credibility. All right. So establishing that credibility, when I say that, Christine, let me ask you first, since you got on here first, and there's two guys and one woman that are on stage here. So I want to give you a chance. I don't want to mansplain it or anything. I want to hear it from your perspective. When I say, okay, now that I know and I've kind of learned a little bit about your pain points and stuff, how do you get credibility with them relative? Now I'm going to say the next step is relative to what you have in your hand as a BeeKonnected affiliate.
Well, you got to grab their attention first off, right?
Right.
Because if they've got a lot of followers, they've got a lot of people, you got to grab their attention before you can even get to a point to establish credibility.
Right. So, and that's a good thing. So they know something's here. How do you what kinds of things do you think in terms of grabbing their attention? I mean, I'm not necessarily talking about the specific tools or whatever. And we're going to talk about that, by the way, because I want to
we
highlight.
Can talk strategy on it. Absolutely. Really, when you think about getting someone's attention, right, you want to follow them. You want to be posting. You want to be responding. You want to have the alert set up. So the first time when something comes up, you're that first person to make a response. They start seeing over and over again that you're one of the first people, right? And you're making helpful, thoughtful comments. If you offer them some kind of value add, something that gets their attention. I've got a friend that does the AI art, right? So he might go create some special stuff just for them. That's one of the things he's seen them talk about. Like, oh, I just love butterflies, right? And he might make them a bunch of AI art butterflies that they could use and post, right? And he might give those as a gift, right? Things like that. Something just little that gets their attention that makes them go, oh. But just responding consistently, being one of those first people, you might get lucky, and they might actually send you a message and say, hey, I noticed you respond to all my stuff. Thanks for being so supportive.
Yeah.
Opens the door for conversation.
Yes. And I think that you can do that both, again, back to the first question that we talked about, but now how do you establish credibility is if you see them on the BeeKonnected platform, because you look at the feed, you can look at their groups, you can look at things, and you can say, that's interesting. I'm aligned with that. They're into music. They're into marketing. They're into networking. They're into the same things. Begin that dialogue with that person so that your credibility, it starts with your engagement, and that is questioning, commenting. And the thing is, the other thing you said was it's not just in BeeKonnected, but don't skip BeeKonnected, because you can get somebody's attention on this platform. But if you've got 12,000 followers on LinkedIn or whatever you've got, like I have, or you've got, 5,000 followers on Facebook, or, whatever platform you're on, again, but you can go to those same people that you're following, and then create that, again, that however the platform enables you to do that, have that connection, right? You can begin to build that, right, Christine?
And on top of that, you can ask for a connection, right? I've seen people put out a post that I'm trying to meet so-and-so who has a connection, and you'd be surprised who you're connected with that actually knows that, right? So you might actually even find a way in the door that way to get an introduction. And we all know warm introductions are an even better way to go if you can get it.
Yeah, because that's a brilliant point. I hadn't even really thought about that in my list of things here that I wanted to touch on. because we're just touching, by the way. Remember, I said we're going to go deeper, but probably when we offer premium content, and probably when I get the group that really wants to make this happen, because this isn't for everybody. If this isn't your cup of tea, if you're not really looking to go out there and really impact and bring in somebody with 1 million followers, or bring in an entire company like Mary Kay that my wife is, or Pampered Chef that my wife is talking to and researching on Mary Kay. And by the way, yeah, there's people that have reached out to those people. Yeah, there's people that have tried to attract them to the BeeKonnected. But here's the thing: BeeKonnected might not have been ready. They might not have been ready for it. Or think about this: you might not really know how to make that $1 billion connection. And literally, if you understand on this platform, for somebody here, it can be $1 billion connection. So establishing that credibility is important. Rickey, did you have anything else to offer on establishing credibility? Because I'm gonna go to the next step. Did you have any other thoughts on that, Rickey?
No, my brain was just racing about establishing credibility with the big influencers, and I'm trying to think of something that y'all haven't already said.
Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, I don't want to leave, since you took the time to be on stage here with us. I want to make sure that we do it. So let me go back to this approach and talk about generating insights. Now, this one we've got a great resource here. And the person that gets pulled into this part of the process when you're really beginning is David Dubbs. And it doesn't mean you have to, I'm not suggesting at this point you're setting up a meeting with David Dubbs. I know that's part of our process. So we just know we have some resources here that we can draw on. Remember, we're not taking the lone wolf approach like we talked about, the different mindsets that we had. We're taking an approach to ultimately get to where we are consultative and challenging them in their business. And we're not saying we're smarter than they are in their business. We're just seeing an opportunity there. So generating those possibilities, putting out some things, and there's plenty of resources you have, any affiliate here has access to, that will go back to what I think Christine said earlier, even in just identifying them, or the target is getting their attention. Generating insights. You leverage the tools that we have and the features. And again, we're not going out just selling features and functions, but you leverage those tools once you kind of have some insight into how they could do it better from your perspective. Then say, hey, here's some things that we think would improve, and then begin the dialogue. And it's a dialogue around that. You with me? It's not just, I got all the answers, here's how I can fix your business. That doesn't work. I'm just telling you right now, that's very thing. And by the way, I don't know if you looked at the approach, but guess what? Initiating contact is we haven't even got there yet. That's number 4. And then the collaborative dialogue is number 5. Okay, so there's a lot in here. So I'm not suggesting that this is the end of the discussion when it comes to our approach. In fact, I've got a bunch of other numbers just that we need to kind of touch on that include things that we are already talking about within the BeeKonnected community for how do we really let people know how great of a tool we have here, and how do we begin to create those kind of trust-based relationships that get to that. So the next thing is when we talk about generating the insights, and I'm not going to get into that in a lot of depth because I want to get through number 4, and then we're probably going to jump into the collaborative dialogue, honestly, in the next episode, because I don't want to go much past 2 o'clock, just because I know I'm losing Christine, and we're committed to trying to keep these to 30-minute episodes of this discussion. So when it comes to the next step is when you're initiating contact. Okay, so we're assuming you know who you want to talk to. We're assuming that you've established some credibility with them. You have some credibility with your ability for BeeKonnected to use BeeKonnected. By the way, that's That's almost a given. We didn't talk about that, but if you're very uncomfortable with the platform and now you found you got, it's like a dog chasing a bus and you caught the bus, you're not going to have that. You're not going to get to that even opportunity probably to generate valuable insights unless you have such a great relationship with them from a personal standpoint, right? That they're willing to listen to you. They'll placate your desire rather than actually see the value themselves. So when you talk about initiating the contact with a message of that, what does that look like to you, Christine? Before I let you go, you got.
I was going to say, you're at top of the hour. You're going to have to wait till next time for that answer.
Okay, well, I will. No, actually, that's fine. I can come back to that. Honestly, I can, because we're gonna break it here. We started a few minutes late, so I'm gonna keep it to 30 minutes, but we've got a couple of minutes. So, what would you say? And again, I know I'm losing. We just lost Christine. So, Rickey, so it's you and me. When you talk about initiating that initial contact with a message to that influencer, how would you go about that? And you're an old school guy like me. What I'm talking about is experience I had over 45 years that still works today, by the way, and can be applied to this platform. So what thoughts do you have on initiating that contact? How would you go about that?
Well, I think that what you've got laid out there in your steps is a great way to look at it, because if you just concentrate on the cold call contact, those are the I hate to say a waste of time, but they're really very, very close to a waste of time, because it's just something that you just can't surprise somebody and have no connection, have nothing in common, and you're just a stranger, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing is very, very old school and doesn't work at all. That old concept of throwing mud on the wall and maybe some of it'll stick, the numbers game kind of thing. You're not talking about that. You're talking about something completely different, and I agree with that. I also think that I found in my experiences that when I do have something in common with them, whether it's blue collar industries that I've worked in, whether it's enjoying the game of amateur golf, whether it's music or or guitars, there are some things that make it a natural thing for me to have a connection with. And if I have that connection first before I approach them, I mean, that's really where it's all about.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think this is a great place to land the plane for this episode. As I said, we're going to come back Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. for the next episode, as long as I can have a wing person with me there so that I'm not just doing this by myself. And we're going to get into that. But let me bring up this again, just to tell you what we've talked about here. So we've talked about researching and identifying target affiliates or target influencers that you would want to connect with, either on the platform or off the platform. We've talked about really establishing credibility with those people or that are either on or off the platform. And we talked about a little bit of that, and then how to really talk about generating valuable insights and then beginning to initiate the contact. We didn't get into creating that collaborative dialogue. And I think what we'll do when we come back the next time is talk more about, generating some insights, leveraging some of our resources we have. We'll also talk about when and how to initiate that contact. As Rickey said, just reaching out to somebody and cold calling or just direct messaging them when they don't even know. For those who get 35, 40 connection requests or people that want to have a dialogue with me on a daily basis, you're going to look at this and go, that's just cold calling. That's just cold contacting and just not using the phone, but in fact, direct messaging. And then we're going to get into that collaborative dialogue, but I'll give you a little hint. I've got about 11 different numbers after the 5. So there's work to be done here. We'll just be scratching the surface for those that want to focus in on any of these areas and learn what it takes to do that. We're going to be here to do that in some form as we launch this premium content around this working with influencers. So next week, or next time we get together, will be collaborative dialogue. We'll talk a little bit more about how to initiate contact, maybe pick up some generate insights, but go watch previous episodes that you haven't seen. This is episode 3. There'll be, many more to come. So Rickey, thank you for being here. Thank you, Christine. I know you'll see this in replay. Thank you, Brad and Cheryl, for joining us, and for all the others that are here and all the others that will see this on replay. I strongly encourage you to reach out to our group, which is either you can connect with me either in the Warrior Networking group or in my community group. And we're going to be having fun on this. By the way, all of this, when we get into, will be ultimately reside in the Warrior Networking space. So Rickey, any other final comments? Thank you for making the time. I know one of the things we have with a networking in a local area is not you have to run from place to place to meet with people in person. To me, that's one of the biggest reasons to be on BeeKonnected, right? And hey, Shauna, awesome to see you here. And what we will do is waste a lot of time. Not necessarily wasted, but you burn a lot of time, just windshield time, right? You used to do that as a manufacturer's rep. So here with this platform, I was able to do all the things I had to do today. I'm very oversubscribed today, and we could still have this opportunity to share some insights as we go forward. I don't have all the answers though. So Shauna, Brad, Cheryl, anybody else that wants to be on stage like Christine and Rickey was today, just reach out to me. I'll make sure you're set up in the room to do that, set up in the group, and we'll do this because there's going to be a lot of shows in this series. I've already got them all prepared, and I've even got the depth that goes with it that I've worked on as well. So thank you, Rickey, again for being here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you back, for those that are willing, at 7:30 Central Time here in the U.S. on Wednesday.